My lifestyle has been a lifestyle of activity. When I engaged in competition, where I saw my times were in the top 10 in the nation in my age group in half marathons and marathons, I thought, well, I'm ready to race in my 50s. 2014, when I decided, my wife, the whole family decided that Dad's gonna do a full Ironman. When I was training for that Ironman, my hips were really hurting. I remember the last thing that was debilitating for me was going to Home Depot, and by the time I went from the parking lot to the store, I was done. I was in so much pain that I had to get one of those little carts. So I decided to set an appointment with a doctor. I called a lot of doctors, interviewed a lot of doctors. I ended up at Panorama and I found Dr. Lammons and his resume.
This is an x-ray of the pelvis on John Gentry, and it's showing both hip joints. What is seen is that he has joint space narrowing where the ball meets the socket on both hips. He has osteophyte formation where the neck meets the head, and bone spur formation at the bottom of his hip joints. So this is indicative of end-stage arthritis of the hips. The only problem is that this is in a very young patient.
These are your options. Total hip replacement and this Birmingham hip resurface, which is for athletes.
The Birmingham hip resurfacing is a hip implant made for an active young male. We basically cap the femur with this cobalt chrome cap that sits into a metal socket made of cobalt chrome. The right patient for this procedure is a very active male in their 40s or 50s, sometimes in their late 30s, that wish to have a high activity level and have no restrictions on their activities after the surgery.
The technology is incredible. Sure, there's pros and cons with anything. It's a little bit of a gamble. But when you have somebody like Dr. Lammons that has done 1,000 of these things, and you have your trust in him, and he backs it up and answers the phone when you call, the stars align to have this Birmingham hip resurface, and I can come back and do something like I did today, which is my first race, 6 months out from the last surgery, and be able to finish this without a lot of pain.
He is a very positive person, and I knew he'd do well. I just didn't know he'd do this well and get back into the activities as soon.
I can do all those things that I couldn't do if I didn't have this surgery done, or if I didn't have Dr. Lammons or Panorama do what they did for me. So I just want it to last forever.